Um, I feel this overwhelming compulsive urge to be very antagonistic, and obviously I'm antagonistic by throwing information in people's faces that they're completely unaware of. And yeah, I guess I'm just trying to be completely upfront because I hate mixed signals and I don't appreciate passive aggressive shit. And I actually have enough nerve and balls, and I guess respect in general, self respect, and then I just like to vicariously reciprocate that to tell you to your face that I'm intentionally trying to be an asshole right now instead of acting triggered and self righteous. Which then again, I'm actually really fucking bothered by people who try to insinuate some sort of form of morality or in general just standards of integrity, even though I don't think people even know what integrity means anymore or at all. That at all. Um, to me when they don't even have any kind of code of ethics of their own. And fascinatingly enough, too, just to fucking antagonize this even more. I'm kind of at this point because I've actually tried to be really reasonable, especially with how psychotic and retarded everybody's being, even more as of late. But I'm actually, my patience is fucking done with trying to be understanding and just and being aware that everybody's turning into fucking retards. Because what's funny is think of like children's kind of network shows, like the stupid Sesame Street stuff. How they go, "A, now you try," and that's called engaging your brain, actually exercising it. Your brain is a muscle, just like everything else. And I'm sure that if your brain could accumulate cellulite, it's accumulating cellulite with your ass on your couch too. So you notice that a lot of the stuff that you watch, especially Netflix fans and everything like that, and the fact that you can watch an entire show in one sitting too, is just actually exacerbating and enabling the issue itself. If you're just continually absorbing things, you're not actually working your brain muscle out, and a mind is wasted. Or even like the old lady that's in the nursing home that always is the obnoxious one that wants to watch Jeopardy. How she's the only one that can remember her fucking grandkid's name when everybody comes to visit. It's because you got to use your brain in order to keep it. Right. So fascinatingly enough, too, I'm just going to steal the deal here. Obviously, people don't understand anything that has to do with academics, including definitions. As a matter of fact, the fact that I find huge, impressive dictionaries for 75% off at like secondhand stores, that's a very embarrassing, and it speaks volumes, and that's not supposed to be a pun, about the lack of interest and the successful conditioning of making someone ignorant. Do you actually remember, or, well, you wouldn't remember, because of course none of us were alive during the slavery bullshit that everybody keeps freaking out about. But, and I'd say, reference back for history, but that would insinuate that you read books, and you guys don't. So let me go ahead and just fill you in real quick. Do you understand why it was so easy to create a segregation between classes with the even then freed slaves after the Civil War, or even beforehand? Why it was so difficult for them to basically upheaval and revolt and just be independent and self-efficient? It was because they were basically banned from going to school. They were discouraged from reading, so they would be illiterate. They were discouraged from being taught the Constitution, being familiar with the government, the laws, right? Which is most people nowadays. Thank you, Mark Dice, and similar troll channels on YouTube that obviously was for entertainment at some point, but now it's just getting fucking really embarrassing. Even Mark Dice sits there and, like, I think he wants to kind of shoot himself every once in a while. I think he would if there wasn't so strict of gun laws in California. But because of how fucking retarded people are. So what's funny is, like, the funniest fucking thing that I find fascinating is, like, the Antifa sort of thing. Taking a word and rebranding it and then, like, being something and then using some sort of, term or word that actually has no inherent fucking associations or meaning that is accurate on an academic level, accurate, does not change what you are. Antifa people are fucking Nazis. And I've even been saying for years, and I have blogs predating it, that why is the American History Channel all night always looping Nazis the monsters or blah 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 blah, or the Hitler horrible regime thing. I'm like, because I love that stuff, and I'm just like, wow, and I'm like, I get to watch this all night, and I'm already well aware the things that actually are playing in the background when you're sleeping. They do that with some sort of language tapes too when you're learning a language, because you actually subconsciously ingrain things easier, meaning that subliminal messaging is actually more effective than directly telling you shit. So I think I just naturally do subliminal messaging. But this is a very fascinating book, which it's even more fascinating how I got it. There was actually 3 or 4 of these sitting outside of a thrift store that it's like out in the boonies, and people just drop stuff by, and nobody ever gets the books anyway. So I just happened to walk by. There were 4 or 5 of these. I gave them away. And the other book that was with it was like The Culture of Narcissism, and then some other fucking book that's really offensive. But anyway, it says, "A time for heroism is upon us." That is the actual quote. A time for heroism is upon us. Hitler and the Nazi SS were trying to say, we're in a plight. It says, the exclusion of the church from state, an economic meltdown, laws of circumvented justice and morality, a systematic secularization of media, education, workplace, pop culture. All the repeated narratives of every single fucking celebrity apparently just now suddenly agreeing with each other, even ones that have been friends and personal associates of Trump, even sit there and are encouraging or subliminally enabling, yeah, let's go ahead and assassinate him. It's funny. So that's pop culture, workplace. They're even being just actual retailers or things that or when I got chased out of Walmart for fucking having a shirt that I made, and I just put like Trump on the back. I actually put, where is that shirt? Right, this is the shirt I was wearing. I made it myself. So it says Trump 2016, and it says returning to the real revolution of 1776. I'm trying to see if you can actually see the writing. Okay, and it's got the Plutonian signature there too, the Plutonian symbol, because the USA's founding chart, if you've ever referenced that, actually has Pluto and Capricorn just like it is now. And they were dealing with the revolutionary and the pioneers, essentially. Like the guy who's on the dollar bill. I'm sure you recognize him, or the quarter. At least maybe that's the only association you guys would know of, because you don't fucking read books, just like the slaves didn't read books, right? Yeah, I actually was standing in line at Walmart. Totally forgot I was wearing this. I actually had somebody who was the same age as me, because I actually recognize him, asked me, says, what happened in 1776? He was with like 2 other guys, and I was actually starting to think maybe he was trolling and bullshitting with me. I turned around, looked at him, and I said, what? He goes, yeah, excuse me, ma'am, what happened in 1776? And I'm like, the founding of this country that you're now standing in. He goes, oh, that's right. Like, don't fucking act like you knew. And I'm just like, wow. Then as I was walking out, totally, blanked, there were a bunch of hooligans, and I call them hooligans because of what they did. And it's not even getting in a race, there's hooligans, because they were hooligans. They could have been white, Mexican, black, whatever, orange, yellow. They could have been, Kim Jong-un, whatever. Standing at the red box thing, and I'm walking out. And then they see, apparently, the Trump thing as I'm just walking by, which I walk by pretty fast. And obviously, it's contrast. So how about you mind your own fucking business, you piece of shits, first and foremost. That's another thing. Quit vicariously living through celebrities and Twitter and other people's lives, and worry about your own. Because them looking at movies and somehow seeing that out of the corner of their eye. Okay, so I heard them scream Trump. And I'm like, what? And then I looked at the corner of my eye. I didn't want to, give them any kind of attention. Because usually if you give idiots attention like that, it just kind of, exacerbates the drama. So I just kept walking. They started to rush at me. There were 4 of them. They were guys. Luckily, most of them were sagging their pants so they couldn't actually sprint after me. And I'm fairly fast. Happened to make the unfortunate decision of not having my firearm on me because I left it in the car. I make sure to not make that a mistake again. They followed me all the way to my car, and I opened up my car and unlocked it, and I actually had to pull my firearm out and point it in their direction to get them to just stop coming at me. And they started calling me bitch and racist and all that stuff. Fascinating thing. So if you notice my shirt there, I'm obviously really into synchronicity and history, right? So it was about the Plutonian Revolution, because Trump is anti-establishment. Trump is going against what the founding fathers would be going against the crown. You notice that? There were certain standards and social norms and expectations that were being imposed on all the people that were from England or whatever, that now were in the colonies, that they tried to continue to pressure all the way across the Atlantic. But there were some people that had the balls even at the point of actual physical threats of violence, which was evident. I remember the redcoats. I mean, at least maybe some of you have seen the Patriot movie that Mel Gibson was in, back in the 90s, how the redcoat guy comes over and burns the church down. Didn't Antifa just fucking do stuff like that? I'm pretty sure they burned churches down, and they gloated about burning the church down that Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan got married in. Which I also find funny, because he was one of the other people who wasn't actually in politics, but was obviously in the loop with all the monopolization and plutocracy bullshit of politics, because he was part of the elite, and he decided that, damn, he should do something about this. He was also Aquarius, so he's naturally defiant. But, yeah, so Antifa and the Redcoats, and even the Nazis, right? So these trends aren't even shocking anymore. They're old news. Yesterday's urgencies. And it says, when a nation forgets God, and this isn't about fucking religion, but by the way, Nazis were leftists, socialists. And it says, reveals 7 trends of transforming society, much like our own, into Nazi Germany. By offsetting historical examples, he challenges the reader to consider what I would do in this situation, and historic examples don't automatically result in identical outcomes. So, yeah. I'm already thoroughly aware of how this goes. If you read this book, the sole intention is finding more grist of your political convictions. I'm deeply distressed over the direction of our nation is taking. The political solutions thought to rescue our nation in moral and spiritual free fall and have a scant effect. The context of this book, yes, Nazi Germany has some lessons to teach us. I'm aware that parallels between Nazi Germany and the United States are easily overdrawn. Another thing I love to point out, the whole enabling or, accessory kind of crime thing, or not, seeing anything wrong with something. Did you know that actually the gas that was used in the chambers for some of the, especially in Auschwitz, in the Holocaust camps, not the bar and grill, sorry, no barbecue today, that was actually provided by our military defense associations with Germany, and we knew what it was knew what it was being used for, but it was none of our business. So, another funny thing, the Fanta soda that you can still get at stores and stuff, the origin of that actually did come from Germany, and specifically the reason why that started being a very popular drink is because there was a steep discount that the United States was getting on the imports, because there were actually Jewish prisoners, the ones that were bottling that shit as they sent it over. So every single time somebody was like, I want a Fanta soda, there was somebody's last fucking moments of life holding on to that bottle as they bottled it, just so that bitch could fucking drink it. Right. And so the president knew that at the time, which was a Democratic president too, which is fascinating. But anyway, I just find it very, very fascinating how the projection is so fucking bad. I mean, I understand neurosis and psychotic disorders and basically projecting and not being able to accept how much of a piece of shit you are. And I'm not saying that everybody naturally has to be like that, because I used to be a fucking horrible, disgusting, vile, scary, toxic bitch. To the point where, I even have this, for example. Oh yeah, I did a lot of things that are in this book too. I'm not even going to go over the ones that I have tabbed, because some of those are there, and I'm not going to incriminate myself. But yeah, anyway, So I actually was kind of looking through my reverse dictionary the other night, and it just kind of inspired me. So there's some words I randomly came across. I'm going to go ahead and read off some sociological characteristics especially. So let's see. 115. I'm not going to tell you the words. I'm just going to tell you the definitions first, and then I'll tell you. Former term for a large self-governing nation, the Commonwealth, Dominion, Commonwealth. That's a slogan for socialism, right? Dominion is domination, by the way. And let's see. See also personality, distinct spirit, character, or value system of a particular culture, people, artistic movement. Character or ability, character or personality, characteristics, thought, or behavior patterns of a person, humor, disposition, temperament. Feature of a personality, a trait. That's character. So, characteristics, thought, thinking, having your own thoughts, not just taking and absorbing what you're fucking reading, seeing, or whatever. And I'm sorry, Twitter has been a sociological, basically Frankenstein experiment to condition people to actually feel pressured that if they don't basically echo other people's fucking narratives, and stupid ones at that, hence the limited characters, that they're actually, there's something wrong with them. That's the first step to mob mentality. And it's also emphasized in that Nazi book. So let's see. Go to hidden, hide, conceal, or cover up mistakes or wrongdoing. Whitewash. It's really funny too how there's like this witch hunt for white people now too. Yeah, whitewash. Concealment or of relevant information or in order to mislead. Steps taken to conceal misdeeds or actions in order to mislead. Smoke screens. Consider just translates to think. Think. So to be considerate, to consider an opposing view, to consider different perspectives or opinions or potential, just, I guess, other sides of an argument, you have to think. So if you can't be considerate and you can't consider any alternative possibilities, you're fucking not thinking and you're an idiot. And that was how they actually were able to corral and keep all of the slaves in line. And that's also back in the monarch times and like the Dark Ages and stuff, why the lower class was illiterate. Because if you keep them stupid and don't give them access to knowledge, specifically records, or don't teach them to read, they'll never be able to think for themselves. If they don't think for themselves, they fucking believe everything that you tell them, which is all of your fucking problems now. I know this for a fact too, because before the whole Uranus Pluto square thing happened, I used to be a total dipshit. I've got video evidence of that. I was totally retarded. Totally. I totally own that. I, in fact, was even one of those people that, like, I didn't even have some of these books. I only had some of them because I went to college and I had to fucking buy them, and I was pissed that I spent so much on them. So I kept, like, the psychology book. I even got a D in psychology when I first went. And then when I tried to make a couple videos about me being smart and being on, like, the satanic networks and stuff, because it's always, like, a dick measuring contest with all the Satanists, because, ignorance is one of the biggest sins. So even if you're a total dipshit and you're a Satanist in the community, you try to fucking act like you're the smartest dipshit out of all of them. So I was one of those people that actually set up, like, right behind me, nonchalantly, the little books that I had to make me look like I'm really fucking smart. Yeah. Funny. So I don't even say this because I'm trying to, accuse people of anything. I know it. Just like bounty hunters usually were breaking laws before. Just like ex-drug addicts, recovered people, are the best people that actually deal with people who are trying to evade rehabilitation or whatever, and that sort of thing. And that's also why people that usually have a very in-depth understanding of psychological disturbances usually become involved in the health field, in the mental health fields. But let's see, 130. Now we're going to get into the corruption part. Crime, misconduct, wrongdoing, especially of an official. A crime offense or wrongful act. Crime full of fraudulent appropriating or misusing someone else's property or funds entrusted to one's care. Embezzlement. To a crime of sin or transgression. Ignoring or pretending ignorance of a crime. Like everybody, like Twitter even, not taking down or legitimate threats and encouragement for people to assassinate Trump. Which has now led to why people are now targeting Trump supporters, because if they can't get Trump, they'll get somebody else. Because that anger has now fucking escalated, and I'm very well aware how that works, and that's why I've been totally a psycho bitch lately. And that's definitely inspiration for this video too. I'm starting to get fucking really ramped up, and I need to fucking unleash this. Luckily, I'm well aware of things like this, and I don't want to go to jail also. And I guess I've somehow developed some sort of conscience or decency in recent years, which I'm still actually in denial about to an extent. But just seeing the comparison of the piece of shits that most of you all are now in comparison to me now, I'm just like, wow, I keep telling myself, like, inside, I'm like, damn, when did I turn into a fucking puss? I'm such a fucking puss. Even some of my friends that I'm surprised they were even still my friends, but some of them are pretty fucked up too. They do fucked up things, hence why they are still my friends, and they were cool with what I did back then. I'm not going to go into that. They've even told me that I've grown soft, and I'm like, don't fucking say that, because I take that as an insult, because I'm like, damn, I'm not even fucking scary or anything anymore. What the hell? I was like, this is stupid, and I've even tried to antagonize myself. I was so easy to antagonize before, just like social justice warriors. That's fucked up, triggered this, I'm gonna fucking do this, and I'm gonna fucking burn your house down. I used to be just like that too, and I've even tried to like play out a scenario, and I usually am really easily provoked and antagonized like that, and I couldn't even make myself be antagonized to the point of where I would freak out like I used to. I'm like, god damn, I fucking turned into a puss. Says, so to ignore or pretend ignorance of a crime, thereby encouraging it. Yeah. So now, since everybody can't assassinate Trump like all the celebrities are encouraging that, all that anger and frustration of the mob mentality is now being unleashed on anybody who may not give some sort of evident fucking, physical indicator that they're not a Trump supporter. So even people that, for God's sake, somebody who may actually like country music for whatever reason, if I would not even be surprised if somebody like in cowboy boots or like a fucking cowboy hat or something like that fucking gets shot because they think they're a Trump supporter now. Because you're all of that stupid. Let's see. Okay, so danger. 189. I know I said I wasn't going to tell you the actual definitions, but, maybe I actually just need to repeat it anyway. Because first off, you guys aren't going to listen because you're already stupid. Secondly, it's the Mercury's in Sagittarius and it's in shadow things, so it's about to go retrograde. So you guys are even more stupid than usual. And then thirdly, yeah, you guys have the attention span of a goldfish because, yeah, if it doesn't have all the flashy effects and shit like that and it's not entertaining or, outrageous or something like that, then if it's not Jerry Springer, like, you can't pay attention. So maybe you won't even pick up that I actually said the definition or the word before the definition. Let's see. 189. Empire Dynasty. Apparently I wrote down the wrong fucking thing for that. Anyway. Let's see. So, bully. I think it's really funny, like, when people try to say that Trump's a bigot, or that, like, I'm prejudiced, or Trump supporters, or whoever else is a bigot, or, like, prejudice, or that we don't accept other people. Let's go ahead and go into this. So I have bully, campaign, control, criticize, critical, cross, cruel, curse, mock, prejudice, aggressive, challenge, cheat, comparison, deceptive, deceive, deception, defeat, and deliberate as words that are listed. Let's go ahead and go over the definition, shall we? See, even like I even love to just randomly read through dictionaries, especially this one. This one's awesome. It actually has the older definitions or associated terms that haven't been updated and removed from the Webster's Dictionary. If y'all weren't so busy fucking using little emojis and LOLs and blah 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 blah, and trying to put those and be an advocate to put those in the dictionary and read actual words, maybe you guys would understand some shit. Yeah, but it's actually like I said, it's to actually redefine everything, including morality and sociological norms and pop culture, is the first step to basically creating the Nazi regime in your country. And who are the people that are trying to censor people's speeches? Don't like free speech? The liberals in the Democratic Party. Who are the ones that have a problem and be triggered by certain words? Liberals in the Democratic Party. Who are the ones that are now going apeshit and trying to say that I'm an abusive, toxic person for my astrological council? I can be abusive and toxic, sure, like I am right now. But I'm not abusive and toxic because I understand that there's a duality of feminine and masculine, dark and light, yin and yang, with old astrology, and being called a bigot and a piece of shit and toxic, and saying that I have no credibility as an astrologer because I reemphasized that there's gender associations, and I explained it from an astrotheological level on my YouTube channel for free, and I was cornered by some sort of feminist or something like that was a speaker at the NORWAC convention I went to, and I was actually followed around by like a group of people who were basically watching me to make sure I don't do anything. I'm like, I'm by myself, minding my own business. I don't even have friends or socialize with people there because I'm there to actually go to the lectures. And they were following me around. I wasn't even paying attention to them. I didn't realize they were following me until I almost ran into one of them when I turned around. Like mob mentality. Okay. Sounds exactly like when the Nazi soldiers would come door to door and actually take like Anne Frank and shit, doesn't it? Fascinating. Bully, oppress, bully, punish unfairly, to discriminate against, victimize. Victimize is an associated term with that. So to victimize someone or to even condemn them, it's still bullying either way. Bully, threat, or hector, or persuade or discourage, a browbeat. Bullying, overbearing, imperious, domineering, dominion. You're starting to see a pattern here? Yeah. And, yeah. Then let's see, what's my next word? 84, campaign. I think this is the best dictionary I've ever had. Campaign. Votes for people for a region of an election. A favor of a crusade. No freaking joke. I can take a picture of that later. Crusade. A vendetta. A banner. Yeah. Fascinating. Speaking of crusade or campaign, let's go ahead and have a little quick history lesson here. So this is about the United States history, and it was between 1829 to 1849, and I actually love this. So just like, let me try to think of some sort of analogy. I don't even watch TV anymore. I'm trying to figure out what people might be familiar with. Let's use Rugrats, I guess, because that's the first thing I think of. You know how Angelica, the older kid, tries to sit there and say, well, the babies did this, and then she actually stages that they did that, and then the parents come and get mad at, Chucky or whatever, and whatever his name is, the bald one, and then the twins, Phil and Lil, and there's like this rivalry, or like there's trying to be this divide she's wedging, because basically she doesn't want to take accountability for things that she did, so she blames them, and luckily they're children and they figure it out. Or she's even done that, against the bald kid and that Chucky kid, where she's made up stories about that and made them upset, and they started to actually believe it. That's obviously been done before too. Pretty Little Liars, I'm assuming just by the title of that. I mean, because that's usually people judge book by their covers because you guys don't actually open them, right? And that would just be kind of what I would think of. And I think probably Mean Girls would be to that extent of that. Maury, maybe. See, I don't even know. But anyway, it says right here. So when they first started coming out with actual, publications, they had to actually draw these out illustrations. Can you imagine the hard work that went into this? So it said, influence of the press in political wars. As the battles of Congress increased in bitterness and complexity, the press rose to new heights of power, thriving on the public's growing appetite for political news. Partisan journalists kept battalions of writers busy influencing as well as informing their readers. Influencing, right. And, yeah. Talked about the subliminal messaging thing before. Yeah. The study of subliminal communication in the study of the human condition. Small minds condemn what they do not understand. It doesn't work, but it is dangerous. To say the subliminal communication is controversial is a gross understatement. In 1983, revealed that over 209 subjects, 81% had some knowledge of the subliminal advertising in a telephone survey published for the Journal of Advertising. By a margin of 2 to 1, subjects believed the usage of both was both harmful and unethical. Yeah. Back in the 80s, they actually thought that they made some sort of laws against this, by the way. But that would actually be violating the First Amendment free speech, which we still have because you guys are still having a fucking fit about that. I'm inclined to believe that fear and ignorance are the issues underpinning most of the controversy over subliminal communication. New York Times in March 1988 that estimated 250 million subliminal self-help tapes were sold in 1987. Police departments started using subliminal programs in their interrogation rooms in 1988. Marketing News in June 1985 suggested using the subliminal effects of billboards in outdoor advertising. Recent psychological tests have shown that the technique would elicit emotional reactions from the viewers, even through the actual mental processes responsible for it on an unconscious level. Yeah, it's the whole concept of color theory also. It's also why people hate me enough already. The last thing I probably should have done is get a red car, because red actually encourages hostility. But anyways, yeah, so it says partisan journalists kept battalions of writers busy influencing as well as informing the readers. In the early 1800s, a new element was added. Lithography, a cheap but simple method of reproducing pictures from stone, was imported from Europe, and suddenly political handbills blossomed on fences and walls. Thousands of those pictures, some of them hand-colored, were solid in for a dime or a quarter and were hung in living rooms and front windows. Artists with pens dipped in vitriol were enrolled by the lithography companies. In their hands, the cartoons came in the 1830s, a deadly weapon of political warfare. Silencing Jackson, Henry Clay is shown stitching the president's lips during the battle over the Bank of the U.S. The Senate had censored Jackson, and he was wrathfully replied. Then Clay refused to let Jackson's retort be officially recorded in the Senate. They actually got somebody to thoroughly illustrate that. And yeah, they had to make multiple copies. What's even worse too is back then, since everything wasn't, just mainstreamed everywhere, they would specifically, this book goes into, they would send specific narratives to like the southern states and then specific ones to like the upper northern colony areas. So they were both getting different fucking sides of different stories that weren't even true. It was a lot easier. Now they just actually encourage that by safe spaces and shit. Fascinating. So I go back yet again. My shirt, right? Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto in fucking Capricorn is right now. Yeah. Fancy that. And then we've had the Uranus square. And the Uranus-Pluto conjunction in the 60s was the launch of the World Wide Web. Right. So now with the Uranus Pluto square and Jupiter being associated with beliefs, making the T-square, they're combining this with this to condemn this, make you all fucking Nazis. You notice the red and black too, isn't that fascinating? Pretty sure Antifa's colors are red and black. Good color. Very intimidating colors. Definitely was my favorite before as well, fascinatingly enough. What's funny is I'm kind of over just going over this list because it just re-emphasizes this. I've even told some of my friends recently on Facebook posts, and I've always done this even before everybody started getting offended by everything. I, without even realizing it, have always, like, subconsciously, because I'm subconsciously rebellious, that's what my chart says, instantly just is the devil's advocate, and I go, well, what about this? I was like, everybody's taking the left road, and I'm like, but I don't want to sit in traffic. I'm going to take the right road and see if the right road goes the same way as the left road eventually, and even if it's a longer drive, I'll just enjoy, you know, the solidarity or whatever, and go on an adventure. That's kind of how I am. So, you know, but I've never quite been threatened as many times, and actually had potential legitimate threats to my safety as much as I've had with this Trump thing. And it wasn't even like I was actually a fan of him before. I noticed that there were other astrologers that were professionals, like Chris Brennan, who did a prediction about Obama winning the election back in 2008. And I noticed that he got a lot of notoriety for that. So I figured, I'm like, hell, I should look at how the other elections went on in previous you know, cycles, see what the charts look like, and see if I can determine who's going to win the election, and just take my chances and make a prediction. And then if I end up being right, it should, you know, basically give me some sort of recognition. I ended up being right. And at first was like, why the fuck is Trump gonna win? It was like, the dude isn't even involved in politics. So I actually looked into it, because I like to look into things and research stuff. And I was like, huh. I was like, so he's been actually, like, endorsing, like, politicians for a long time, hence his cahoots with Wall Street. So he's just like Reagan was, in cahoots, and understands how everything's going on. And there's so many, little clips of him at actual conventions trying to say, dude, I will pay you, like, $500,000 for you to run for fucking president, and to actually do these legislations with, you know, different kinds of trade or whatever, like he keeps emphasizing on. And he kept doing that, and then when they would get into office, basically the overall, like, internal structure, the monopolization, the plutocracy, that is the secret underbelly of the United States government, basically brings the hammer down on people and the president and says, yeah, that sounds great, and we appreciate, you know, you having that kind of hopes and dreams and change, but you can't do that. Last time somebody tried to do that was Kennedy. I'm pretty sure his fucking brain matter was completely splattered all over the road in Texas. Fascinatingly enough, that was when there was, you know, that conjunction with Pluto and Uranus. So we're doing the Uranus-Jupiter T-square. So it's basically the aftermath of that conjunction. And fascinatingly enough, Kennedy was against the establishment, wasn't a traditional candidate, wasn't liked by the public. The elites didn't like him. And he was a Gemini that was trying to basically ruffle up the status quo. And back then, obviously, there wasn't as much of a, you know, surveillance kind of thing and high, intense security around him. And that's why he fucking died. Because I actually predicted, too, I said, so it looks like, because I'm good with death charts, I said, whoever's going to be elected for the 2016 election is actually going to likely be assassinated in 2018. And I'm like, so Uranus-Pluto square would cause a Wonderland effect, so everything would be the opposite. So instead of actually Trump getting killed, it's going to be the people that voted for him. Because again, the animosity and the fucking mob has been unleashed. And they have to release it somewhere. Because that's just like a volcano. Volcanoes, once they actually have accumulated tension and heat anger, hostility, rage. It needs to be let out. And volcanoes are not particular about their victims and casualties. They just annihilate things whichever they can within their reach. Just like all the idiots are too. Yeah, so even I've re-emphasized I was never a fan of Trump. Didn't know shit about him. Looked at his chart. It was all primarily motivated by me actually just trying to get notoriety for my astrology stuff. Because I noticed that this is what other astrologers are doing. I also seem to notice that Chris Brandon and other people that were typically, predicting presidential outcomes or elections decided to sit this one out. Fascinating. All of the files, so whatever. Look at that. The last thing I searched was USA. There it is. Let's look up Trump. Another fascinating note I'd like to mention. I noticed that Hillary, although there's multiple different potential times for Trump's chart, Hillary's time is nowhere to be found. And the one thing that I've correlated with people that have a problem with, offering up their personal information, specifically charts, is when they're hiding something. Because that was the whole reason why it was kind of, slipped into the Bible translations that you shouldn't consult astrology or the stars, because if everybody knew that you could actually sift out the fucking rats like I do, thank you to all the benefic fucking planets in the past houses, thank you very much, then they'd actually be able to tell what I've done. So, like I said, I looked, before I even started listening to the narratives on TV and stuff, I already warned people in 2015, Neptune square Saturn, that people were going to start being lied to and being deceived by the mass media. I actually stopped watching TV at that moment. And I was like, yep. So I didn't even actually know anything about this. So when I started hearing that Trump actually put his hat in for the race, I'm like, well, I guess I need to look at his shit. Because I was looking at Bernie Sanders and I was looking at Hillary Clinton. And I'm like, oh my god, Bernie Sanders is a fucking idiot. And Hillary Clinton's Satan. And I'm just like, wow. And then when Trump throws, I'm like, dude, we are so screwed. I totally understand why Baba Vanga Nostradamus said that Obama's going to be the last president, because this is it. This is fucking it. So anyway, let me pull up Trump's chart. I don't know why this isn't on the other computer. Okay, so for the USA's chart, I kind of was writing it out already, but it's just for the sake of going over it with everybody. Okay, so the USA was July 4th, the 4th of July, guys, 1776, right? And it was on a Thursday, so Jupiter would be the key planet, or the most prominent planet anyway, and it was at 5:10 p.m. So it's a nocturnal chart, meaning negative, or at least kind of on the down low and deceptive. Jupiter is associated with ideology and beliefs and principles. So on the down low with ideologies and principles. Fascinating. So this makes it a Cancer. So Cancer Sun. I hate to insult all the Cancers out there. You guys are not known for your intelligence. That's why you're supposed to be empathetic. And if you happen to be one of those Cancers that has a lot of fire and air in your chart, then you're actually a complete emotionalist dipshit. And I apologize for that. Speaking of emotionalist dipshits, guess what sign the moon is for the United States? Well, it's in fact an air sign. Aquarius, which is a trauma signature. And that's where we get the whole rebel yell and, defiance bullshit, right? So, naturally, the moon is supposed to represent the emotions and, on a mundane level, of the community or the mob. So, trauma signature. Aquariuses are known for being psychotic, neurotic, manic. As a matter of fact, let's make sure that I'm not being biased about this. Moon in Aquarius. Erratic and power surges, power outages, mental body, nervous strain, depression, cold extremities, sensitivity to Achilles, erratic swings in energy and moods. Electromagnetic poisoning, gender identity disorder. Rest on their nerves, remove themselves from electromagnetic, tends to deplete their life force. Yeah. Then let's kind of look at this here. What is the Jupiter sign for the United States again? Oh, Cancer. Fascinating. Jupiter in Cancer. Actually, let's see. Uranus. Undiagnosable conditions. Afflicted. Disturbances. Uranus being in what sign for the United States? Gemini. Fascinating. Fascinating. Trump's a Gemini too. Neurological diseases, schizophrenia, mental illness, stuttering, Tourette syndrome, nervous breakdowns. Yeah. Reflexes to Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. Fascinating. So you notice there's a trend here with Uranus associations and Aquarius in general. Yeah. And what was Neptune in for this? Virgo. Oh, isn't that just rich? Neurosis, obsessive compulsive disorder, toxic underactive livers, hypochondria, paranoia. So collectively, the entire United States citizens at large, the residual signature with their behavior would be paranoid, neurotic, delusional, confused, psychotic, defiant, and yeah, if I went and got the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for that, you'd be in lockdown, psychiatric lockdown. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty damn sure, and I've still fucking said that will be a mandatory thing with universal health care. They're just going to start finding reasons to lock people away. And I think actually them pretending that they're actually screening people for gun sales when they're actually not is either in hopes to completely confiscate all guns. Because if it wasn't for artillery and guns, especially with like the redcoats from the Monarch coming over back in the Revolutionary War, if they were trying to basically destabilize all of the supplies and artillery of the colonists, because if they were able to do that, then there's no way they could fight back. That's the same fucking reason why the Second Amendment exists. As a matter of fact, I'm sure none of you guys have actually fucking read this, which I think is also funny too, that there's so many people that go, yeah, I'm not in politics because I'm going to be a rebel with that moon in Aquarius, and I'm also going to be neurotic and stupid, and I'm just going to say fuck politics, and I'm not going to be involved. You know what's really funny? 100 years ago, women weren't allowed to vote, women weren't involved either. And slaves were also not allowed to vote. And the whole patriarchy, or people being pissed about who was continually elected, it was because there was only one faction of people that were actually voting. Right. So you trying to be a rebel and deciding not to vote, you're actually causing the same kind of outcome that happened back then. Yeah. So that again too, if you look at the statistics for the people that actually voted, all the people that are really upset and outraged and fucking threatening violence about Trump winning, a lot of them didn't even fucking vote. And that's not necessarily caused by felonies. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure a free state. The right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Also, by the way, freedom of speech. Religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Get the fuck over it. It's not changing. Get the fuck over it. You guys are always going to run your mouth anyway. Even if we were to restrict actual free speech, the day that somebody who is, calling the shots doesn't like a new word, and they start to actually ban things that you all like, watch the fucking shitstorm that'll be caused when there's a cool word that's now no longer cool. Could you even imagine? Funny. So again, I'm getting distracted because I'm not looking at the actual fucking chart. I'm going on my psychotic shit fits. So, I just want to point something funny out. So I read the other day something on social media about how if you have the same rising sign, versus somebody's sun sign, you guys are like having a bromance. So the rising sign of the United States is Sagittarius. The sun sign, for Trump it's actually Gemini. But funny enough, there is polarity with this. And then also, if that's not enough, he does have a moon that happens to be in Sagittarius. Right. He also has a sun and Uranus conjunction in Gemini, which is the same fucking sign for Uranus back for the United States natal chart. Yeah, isn't that fascinating? And then also Gemini is the house ruler of the 7th house of law, order, and others. So he is the embodiment to the fucking T of everything that has created and come before every one of us that makes the country the way it is. And you guys can continue to fucking bitch and say it's not that good and stuff, but it's just because you're spoiled little motherfucking millennial assholes, and I used to be just as guilty of that, and I still am to some extent, where you're never fucking satisfied. Fascinating. Yeah. So, bromance. So, Trump has the same kind of, like, emotions as the rising. So, the people's attitudes. So, attitude. Which is why over half of the fucking country voted for Trump. And even with Hillary trying to sabotage the voting machines in Pennsylvania, too, and trying to actually cheat and take Pennsylvania, he still fucking won in a landslide, and even turned blue states red, because he has the same attitude as the collective people of the United States. Unfortunately, the same thing that people keep pointing out about Trump is the same issue with the United States as well. Uranus being in Gemini. Gemini is already a really fucking scary kind of archetype when we're talking about mental disorders and issues. Throw Uranus into that. So Aquarius is a trauma signature, has to do with neurosis. And then also Gemini is known for bipolar and psychotic shit. Both lack empathy and are usually cold. Don't seem to show any kind of compassion, which that's evident. So Trump has his sun in Gemini conjunct with Uranus on his MC, which is his public persona. And then we look back at the chart here again. Yeah, so the people themselves, actually, it's the 6th house that Uranus is in. 6th house for the USA's chart. Uranus in Gemini. So work and service and the mundane. So neurotic, psychotic, bipolar, lacking empathy, cold, the general public, everybody else. So funny enough, just as I was accusing everybody of projecting all their fucking really toxic, disgusting shit onto me a lot, the reason why you guys all hate Trump so much is because he's you. And I could understand people being retarded and having outrage, but the fucking level of subliminal conditioning to the point where literally people are actually organizing and orchestrating mass violence because of their own fucking complete and utter delusions. I don't even know. I don't even Like, I'm somebody who actually helps people through, you know, psychological disturbances and tries to give them some sort of constructive advice. Like, even just trying to sidestep the smartass thing for a second. If this were a potential client in question with all the parameters involved, I wouldn't even know what to fucking say, where to start, and even believe that I could actually fucking help. Because this is fucking really insane. And it all stems from confirmation bias, and basically it's a personality conflict. Personality conflict is a term and a theory that was coined by Sigmund Freud, where basically the superego and the ID, which is the ascendant. Okay, so your ego is supposed to be your logic, which none of you fucking have, which is why your beliefs are being infiltrated. Your superego is supposed to be your feelings, which none of you have anymore. And then your ID is supposed to be your ascendant, so your primal Mars behavior, which none of you are fucking actually aware of, because that's called neurosis and psychosis, whichever one you want to use, both flavor of crazy, which is associated with narcissistic grandiose gap. So your superego is essentially your feelings. So when there's a personality conflict, it's the info or your point of view of info versus your feelings. If they continue to flood you with fucking information, i.e. you just sitting in front of your fucking TV or looking at Twitter all day long, and all the info or all the things that you're perceiving is completely conflicting with your feelings, one of them is eventually going to cave. So that's going to be your feelings. Especially with people being more stuck on their phones and not having human interaction, because human interaction and actual intimacy is what keeps people that have feelings. So nobody has feelings anymore. So that's actually what the process is going on right now. You have feelings, which is making you all psychotic as fuck. And so the deterioration of the feelings overall is actually happening from the personality conflict to where you will all be actually thoroughly programmed and just answer and do everything that the fucking media or whoever tells you to. And the only other thing that's actually going to be involved would be your primal behavior, which is animals. Animals. You're all acting like animals. Animals. And I don't give a fuck. I'm actually going to read stuff right off my fucking Facebook. Speak of the devil. The fucking people that I'm inspired to make this fucking video about are running their mouths yet again on a Trump post, which was something I shared last year, and it was actually confirming that I was correct about the prediction, which, again, that's all I fucking cared about. So dude, I can't. Really? You adore the man who sold America democracy to the Russians? There's actually no evidence of that. Again, you're being conditioned to accept things. And gave polluters the green light to go ahead and destroy the environment? What about the Democratic president that gave the gas for the Jews? How about that one? It's okay to grab him by the pussy? Yeah, I'm pretty damn sure. I would love... Actually, let's go click on this dude's fucking profile. Did he block me yet? He might have blocked me. Yeah, no. Did he really block me? Well, fuck. I don't even know if this is the same person anymore. We have a mutual friend. I was gonna go look at his music taste. Because if he has one fucking person that's made it derogatory, I've already had this argument. Grab him by the pussy. It's fucking locker room talk about, yeah man, you grab her by the pussy. Yeah, if you actually look at the context of that. Funny. So, again, somebody who's trying to lecture me on morality. I think he actually blocked me at this point. Because he was going rounds and fucking posting novels after fucking novels after fucking novels. And it's like, it's really your moral call, people. Come on. Wow, I haven't even actually read this up. Come on, the same dried up cunts who said Michelle Obama's bare arms were something to be hidden, while Melania's entire body is an artwork. Also charged of the next few years, folks. I hate to say this, but you really lost. Oh yeah, by the way, a bit of advice. When the stock market goes up, your wages do not. Who? I actually probably assumed, since this guy doesn't really like Hillary, that he actually was going to vote for Bernie Sanders. And if anybody... that doesn't explain, like, the fucking mental impairment that's going on. If anybody's trying to give me some sort of economic lesson that probably was supporting Bernie Sanders... Whew. So his name is Kevin Szabo. Z-A-B-B-O. And then my friend Jane goes, you didn't have a democracy to sell. Obama sold the environment too. Melania's a model, duh. Snowflakes are in danger to themselves. Yeah. And then Jane goes, Holly, Obama also authorized ISIS. There's actual, political executive orders about that, by the way. So then Kevin comes back and says, okay, so your allegory was sold. Still, it was ours. Money that could buy. Price, sold to an orange Jim's trumpet for billions of dollars unclaimed tax money. It says, $1 billion? Only $1 billion? And he goes, take the draft dodger in the highest office too. I liked Obama. Well, Obama never dodged the draft. I'm like, why is this fucking a subject? Fucking Bush dodged the draft too. Unlike Dump, Obama never had to get a deferment because of non-existent bone spurs. Huh. It's also because Obama was going to college too. I don't even think that was around the draft time. But if you were actually going to college or something like that, you were usually looked over for the draft. That's actually why Bush, was going to college too, even though he was a C student. Dump is the enemy of the American people. We're not talking about the Nazis and how they tried to invade Europe. All of that is a dump voter mentality. I love that, like, I never even said anything to this content. And see, this is why I didn't even get into this. I never even fucking read this. Jane, you fucking, wow. I love you. The Trump voter mentality, it's ignorance. It's dangerous to the world both for peace and for environment. Trump voters, the lot of them, are a bunch of self-righteous narcissistic douchebags. Just like their god. I'm a fucking Satanist, you dumbass. Yeah. And his entire fucking original commentary to open up this fucking shit fit is narcissism defined. Don't make me bust out the fucking diagnostic statistical manual, I swear to God. Yep, and then here we go. So then Jane goes, Trump voters, the lot of them are a bunch of self-righteous narcissistic douchebags just like their god. And he goes, more stereotyping, dehumanizing, demonetizing, righteous narcissistic douchebaggery? Yeah. As a matter of fact, that just makes me feel fucking inspired. Yet again. To go back to this. Prejudice. Wrong book, dude. I'm so flustered. Wrong book. Where did I just put my reverse dictionary? Oh my god, guys, I'm having a crisis. I have too many books. I don't know where to put them all. What on earth am I to do? The humanity. The humanity. What page is that on again? .417. Prejudice. Performed judgment or preference. Predisposition. Prejudice or hatred. Prejudice or intolerant person is a bigot. Prejudiced by one's fixed beliefs or ideology, not open-minded, dogmatic. Prejudice or biased against something, pessimistic or cynical, jaundiced. Prejudice or narrow-minded. Yeah. So hating an opposing viewpoint, preferences equates to bigot, aka liberals are bigots by definition. Shut the fuck up, free speech, bigots. Let's see. Critical, judgmental, criticism, disapproval of structures, criticism or veiled accusation, harsh or extreme scornful, criticism or verbal attack might be scathing, withering, blistering, open condemnation, strong abusive criticism, excavation, undergo severe criticism, a gauntlet, criticize, to scold, insult, criticize, explain or in a priggish or preachy way, criticize or attack verbally, criticize, punish, or scorn severely, chastise, criticize abusively, or argue against, passionate, rail against, and that's against or fugitive, criticize in belittling or in a dismissive way, or deceptive, derogative, criticize mercilessly, pan, slate, crucify, criticizing ignorantly, without necessary knowledge or experience to warrant it. Cross. To be angry or anger. To crucify. Cross or divide the line of space. Aggressive, harsh, cruel, insensitive, heartless, cruel and greedy, wolf-like way. Cruel oppression or ill treatment. Persecution. Cruel or extremely violent act. Outrage, outcry, brutality, inhumanely cruel. Mercilessly cruel or grim. Unsparingly. Pretty sure, Kevin, everything you just said fucking fits those definitions. Buy a dictionary.